Everyone has that forgotten game in their library. A title you downloaded out of curiosity, got in a sale, or simply left there with no reason to start. Sometimes it seems too simple or different for what you're used to playing. And then, on any random day, you decide to give it a shot. Expectations are low. You think you'll play for a bit and then move on, or maybe just kill some time. But before you know it, you're hooked, immersed, wondering how you overlooked it for so long. This list is about those games, the ones you start with little expectation, but they end up carving out a special place among the best you've ever played. I'm Jax, and if you're new here, welcome to the Play Hunters channel. I bring daily content so you won't miss any details of the gaming world. If you could subscribe to help me grow, I'd really appreciate it. From one gamer to another. Kicking off the list, we have Jusant, which surprises by turning the simple act of climbing into something deep, emotional, and captivating. The story is told without words, but every piece of the mountain holds traces of a world that vanished, leaving signs of life and memory along the way. Climbing isn't just a physical act. It's a symbol of overcoming, rebuilding, and connecting with something greater. The game silence speaks more than a lot of dialogues out there. The gameplay revolves around climbing, using the triggers to simulate hand movements. The physics are realistic, and you have to think carefully about where to grab, how to use resources, and manage your fatigue. Everything flows intuitively, with no rush. There are small puzzles, exploration elements, and moments when the environment itself becomes part of the challenge. It's a game that makes you slow down and pay attention to each step. The minimalist visuals charm with their soft colors and serene atmosphere. Each new section reveals unexpected landscapes and ancient structures that deepen the mystery of what happened in that world. It's impressive how something so contained can convey such a sense of scale. Jusant came quietly, but delivers something unique that lingers in your mind long after you finish. And it does all of that without saying a single word. In second place, A Plague Tale: Innocence offers a much more engaging journey than it might seem at first. Set in a medieval Europe ravaged by plague, the atmosphere is heavy yet intimate, driven by family bonds and the urgency of survival. The story unfolds at a growing pace, balancing tension, discoveries, and moments of silence that speak volumes. It's the kind of narrative that gains momentum with each step. The gameplay mixes stealth with puzzle solving and intelligent use of light, forcing you to observe the environment carefully. There's no frantic action, but the rhythm is well-crafted, always introducing something new. The systems evolve naturally, contributing to the feeling of steady progress. The simple beginning soon opens up to creative mechanics and more complex, engaging situations. The visuals are detailed, with environments reflecting both the decay of the world and the beauty in small moments. The art direction has personality, and each setting feels meticulously chosen to support the narrative. It's one of those games that doesn't make a lot of noise, but grabs you completely and stays with you long after you're done. In third place, Kena Bridge of Spirits arrived looking like a cute indie game, but offers much more than that. The story takes you through a land corrupted by unresolved pain, guiding lost spirits while you learn more about this world and your role within it. The narrative is simple, yet emotional, and every new character or area adds layers beyond the charming visuals. The gameplay blends real-time combat with platforming mechanics, skill usage, and precise dodge and parry commands. The movement is fluid, and the challenge is well-balanced, growing as you progress. Solving small puzzles, facing tough bosses, and unlocking new areas creates a satisfying rhythm. Despite its cute appearance, the game doesn't pull punches in some battles. The challenge is real and welcomed. What's most surprising is the attention to detail. The world is vibrant, full of well-crafted animations, and the small spirits that accompany you aren't just for decoration. They participate in combat, exploration, and add personality to the game. Even though it's from a debut studio, Kena delivers something that many big games can't: charisma, balance, and a constant sense of being part of something special. In fourth place, Souldiers impresses by combining Metroidvania elements with Souls-like combat, all within a vibrant pixel art world. The story begins with a battle-worn army being transported to a mysterious dimension full of mystical creatures, ancient ruins, and buried secrets. The narrative unfolds gradually, encouraging you to explore every corner and uncover what lies behind this chaotic universe. In the gameplay, you choose between 3 distinct classes, each with its own style, and face demanding enemies in battles that require precision. Exploration is rewarding, with hidden shortcuts, abilities that unlock new paths, and well-placed puzzles. The difficulty curve is firm but fair, requiring attention to patterns and mastery of controls. Nothing is handed to you, and that makes each victory even sweeter. The colorful visuals contrast with the demanding combat, creating an intense yet enjoyable rhythm. The animations are well-crafted, the environments varied, and the game always keeps you engaged with something new. Even without major hype, Souldiers shows that it's possible to deliver a deep, challenging, stylish action RPG without missing a beat compared to larger productions. In fifth place, Dredge tricks you at first with its calm visuals and fishing premise, but soon reveals itself as much stranger and more fascinating than it seems. The story unfolds in an isolated archipelago, where the sea hides ancient secrets and creatures that defy logic. As you collect fish and talk to locals, you realize that something's off, and the atmosphere becomes increasingly tense and mysterious. The gameplay combines space management on the boat with fishing, exploration, and upgrades. Everything happens in real time, with a day-night cycle that directly influences what you find in the ocean. When the sun sets, creatures emerge, making every crossing risky. The simple mechanics transform into a web of strategic decisions. Should you explore more or return safely? What's most intriguing is how the game makes you feel uneasy with small changes. Thick fog, strange noises, objects that weren't there before. Without relying on cheap scares, Dredge builds a constant tension that pushes you forward, even with fear of what may come. It's a game about fishing, yes, but also about what lies hidden in the depths, both of the sea and your imagination. In sixth place, Omno is the kind of game that starts in silence, with no rush, and before you realize it, you're completely immersed in that serene and mysterious world. The story is told without dialogue, only through ruins, ancient monuments, and small fragments left behind. Slowly, you understand that you're on a journey of learning and discovery, guided more by curiosity than any direct objective. The gameplay is light and focused on exploration, with environmental puzzles, smooth platforming, and mechanics that evolve as you progress. You glide over hills, fly on wind currents, and interact with creatures that inhabit each biome. There's no combat, which reinforces the contemplative tone of the game. Everything flows naturally and invites you to pay attention to the details of the surroundings. Even with a simpler scope, the game has impressive visual care. The environments change constantly, each with its own identity and unique creatures. The sense of progress is constant, and the game conveys emotions without needing to say a word. Omno is proof that well-applied simplicity can surprise you much more than you expect. In seventh place, Cyberpunk 2077 surprised me precisely because it started in the worst possible way. The launch was chaotic, full of bugs and unfulfilled promises, and even today, many still remember it that way. But time did well for the game, and returning to it on the PS5, I found a deep RPG filled with memorable stories and an impressive setting. The city isn't just a backdrop. It breathes, reacts, and changes based on your decisions. The gameplay improved a lot. Combat became more dynamic, AI was refined, and the builds are more fun to create. Whether in shooting, stealth, or hacking, everything now responds better. The side missions are as well crafted as the main campaign, and exploring every corner of the city is totally worth it. The overall pace became more fluid, and the immersion-breaking flaws were fixed. The visuals on the new generation helped transform Night City into something truly grand. The lights, the details, the traffic, the alleys, everything feels more alive and cohesive. Seeing the game function as it should have from the start is almost unbelievable. Cyberpunk stopped being a frustration and became one of the most complete and immersive games in recent years. After everything it went through, it's impossible not to be impressed by what it became. In eighth place, Days Gone caught me by surprise by delivering a much more intense and engaging journey than I expected at first. The premise seems familiar, but as the story progresses, it becomes clear that there's something deeper going on. The pace is built gradually, focusing on survival, loss, and rebuilding. Each region has its own threats, conflicts, and memorable characters. It's a world in ruins, but full of memorable moments. The gameplay mixes direct combat, stealth, and a lot of attention to resource management. The bike isn't just a means of transport, it's part of the survival routine. It needs fuel, maintenance, and almost becomes an extension of the character. The hordes bring a high level of tension, forcing you to think carefully before acting. The game rewards those who explore calmly and adapt to changes in the map and challenges. What's most interesting is how time helped the game grow. At launch, many didn't like it, but those who persisted ended up finding something unique. It has personality, carries a more serious tone, and delivers moments that stay in memory. Days Gone isn't just about staying alive. It's about persistence, adaptation, and moving forward even when everything seems lost. It was a surprise that was worth every minute. In ninth place, Mad Max was one of those games that arrived a bit under the radar, but surprises a lot when you give it a chance. The story follows the fight for survival in a brutal desert, where everything revolves around violence, scarcity, and rebuilding something lost. Even though it's set in a universe already known from the films, the game manages to develop its own identity. The narrative is straightforward, but delivers good moments and a constant feeling of loneliness. The gameplay is where it truly shines. Vehicle handling is responsive, and the vehicular combat is intense and full of possibilities. Outside the car, the hand-to-hand combat is simple but highly satisfying. The progression is well-structured, with upgrades that directly impact your performance and the way you face enemies. The map is vast, but doesn't get lost in empty tasks. Almost everything has a purpose. The game's world is what impresses most. The desert setting, fortified camps, the insane-looking enemies. Everything is built with attention to the franchise's style. The sense of desolation is everywhere, but there's beauty in the chaos. Mad Max wasn't a phenomenon when it was released, but today, it's remembered by those who played it as one of the most underrated open worlds in recent years. In 10th place, The Long Dark offers a proposal that goes way beyond what I expected. It's not just a survival game. It's a solitary journey in a frozen world where every step needs to be planned. There are no zombies, monsters, or frantic gunfights. The danger comes from the cold, hunger, wild animals, and the time that never stops. The main narrative is good, but it's in the sandbox mode that the game shows its true strength. The gameplay focuses on resource management and making tough decisions. Eat now or save. Sleep in safety or keep walking in the dark. Every choice has a consequence, and the constant tension comes from uncertainty. Exploration rewards carefulness, and finding shelter or a forgotten campfire in the middle of nowhere can change everything. The pace is slow, but that's exactly what makes the game so immersive. The stylized visuals help create the sense of isolation, with cold landscapes that convey both loneliness and beauty at the same time. The sounds of the wind, the snow, and the animals reinforce the feeling of vulnerability. The Long Dark is introspective, demands patience and attention, but delivers an atmosphere like few others. It's a game I started with low expectations, but ended up remembering long after I stopped playing. In 11th place, Dante's Inferno seemed like just another hack and slash inspired by God of War, but it ended up delivering a brutal and unexpectedly creative journey. The story is loosely based on a classic work, but the game isn't afraid to reimagine everything in a grotesque and impactful way. Each circle of hell has its own identity, with disturbing landscapes and creatures reflecting the sins portrayed. It's a dark and stylized journey from start to finish. The combat is fast, fluid, and full of possibilities. You unlock moves, powers, and upgrades that expand your ways of facing increasingly aggressive enemies. The bosses are huge, with memorable designs and intense battles. Despite the linear structure, the game rewards you with a constant rhythm, well-placed puzzles, and challenges that require focus. There's no room for boredom. Everything pushes you forward all the time. The visuals are bold, filled with exaggerations that match the infernal theme of the story. The art direction doesn't hold back when showing the grotesque, and that works in favor of the atmosphere. Dante's Inferno came as a controversial title, and many didn't pay much attention at the time. But revisiting it today, it's easy to see how unique, brave, and much more memorable it is than it appeared at first glance. In 12th place, Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown arrived with some skepticism, mainly because of the visual style change and the adoption of 2.5D gameplay. But just a few minutes in, it's clear that this choice made perfect sense. The story blends mythology, time travel, and betrayals, all within a structure that encourages exploration, revisiting old areas, and unlocking secrets. The narrative pace is fast, and there's always something new happening. The gameplay is the highlight. Combat is quick, technical, and incredibly satisfying, with moves, counterattacks, and powers that require mastery of the controls. At the same time, the movement through the map is reminiscent of the best Metroidvanias, with areas opening up gradually as you gain new abilities. The challenge design is well thought out, valuing your evolution. Even in more complex maps, progression flows well and always rewards you. The visual style may divide opinions, but it works very well for what it proposes. The animations are smooth, the environments are varied, and the effects in combat are impactful. It feels like you're playing something modern that respects the franchise's roots. The Lost Crown doesn't try to imitate previous games. It creates its own path and does so confidently. It went far beyond what I expected and brought back the series' shine with its own personality. In 13th place, Rise of the Ronin came surrounded by inevitable comparisons. Today, any game set in feudal Japan ends up being placed side by side with Ghost of Tsushima. This naturally lowered my expectations, as it seemed hard to deliver something that didn't feel like just an attempt to repeat past success. But as soon as I started the journey, I realized that the proposal was different, less poetic, more raw, and focused on the historical changes of that period. The gameplay blends technical combat with real freedom of choice. Each strike requires precision, and the duels are intense, demanding attention and patience. Outside of battles, the game offers a huge variety of activities, quests that affect your reputation, and decisions that directly influence the narrative. You can shape your path however you want, giving the journey a much more personal rhythm. The world structure is vast, but everything has a purpose. The historical setting is rich, with cities full of life and landscapes that show a Japan divided between tradition and modernity. The way the game addresses this conflict is mature and well-built. Rise of the Ronin may not have the same poetry as other titles in the genre, but it delivers something unique, with weight, choices, and a narrative that grabbed me more than I expected. It surpassed the label and delivered an identity of its own. In 14th place, Outward arrived without promising much, but soon made it clear that its proposal was different from almost everything in the genre. It's not a traditional action RPG, and that might push away those expecting something more direct. Here, the focus is on survival and preparation. You're not a powerful hero. You're just an ordinary person trying to survive in a hostile world where every step outside the city requires planning. And this completely changes how you approach the journey. The gameplay is deliberately slow. Before heading out on a mission, you need to think about what to bring, where you'll sleep, and how you'll get back. Fighting without preparation can be costly, and running away isn't always easy. The systems are interconnected. Hunger, thirst, weather, fatigue, and injuries affect everything. This creates a constant sense of immersion and real consequences. You don't follow an epic path. You build one, with effort and persistence. What's most impressive is how this different structure works so well. The maps are large and varied, with secrets, factions, and alternative paths. The world doesn't revolve around you, and that makes everything feel more believable. Outward requires patience, yes, but it offers rewards that few games deliver. True accomplishment, not because of a script, but because you overcame difficulties with your own choices. It surprised me with its boldness and authenticity. In 15th place, 7 Days to Die seemed like just another zombie game, but it turned out to be much deeper than I expected. It mixes survival, crafting, building, and tower defense elements in a way that few games manage to balance. The premise is simple. You need to prepare for a brutal horde that arrives every 7 days. But what happens between these attacks is what really grabs you. Gathering resources, reinforcing your base, exploring abandoned cities, and dealing with the unpredictable. The gameplay is broad and full of possibilities. You can play solo or in a group, building shelters from scratch, modifying existing structures, or even using the environment to your advantage. The systems are interconnected. The more noise you make, the more attention you attract. And with each 7-day cycle, the challenge increases, forcing you to think ahead. The tension grows naturally and keeps the rhythm of the game always intriguing. What's most exciting is the incredible freedom the game offers. There's no right path. You define your priorities, your building style, your defense strategies. The aesthetics might seem simple, but the content is vast and full of unpredictable moments. 7 Days to Die is the kind of game that grows over time, and the more you dive in, the more you realize how much it has to offer. Far more complete than it first appears. In 16th place, Hellpoint appeared as a Souls-like set in space. which already piqued my curiosity, but with low expectations. However, the game goes beyond its appearance. It delivers a heavy sci-fi atmosphere, filled with strange symbols, bizarre creatures, and a constant sense of isolation. The space station where everything takes place is full of interconnected paths and hidden secrets, and the feeling of being watched never disappears. It's deliberately uncomfortable. The gameplay follows the methodical and punishing combat style, emphasizing dodging, endurance, and well-calculated strikes. But what surprises is how the game introduces its own mechanics, like the dynamic time cycle, which changes enemies and unlocks areas depending on the time of day. The equipment is varied, with melee weapons, magic, and even futuristic guns. The customization is broad and allows for different combat styles. The atmosphere is undoubtedly the most striking feature. The visuals may not have the polish of bigger titles, but they make up for it with bold artistic direction, creating memorable environments and a constant feeling of discomfort. Hellpoint is dense, mysterious, and full of original ideas. It doesn't try to copy just for the sake of copying. It absorbs the essence of the genre and delivers something new, with personality and audacity. Much better than I expected. In 17th place, Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora seemed like a risky project. Adapting such a visually distinctive universe like the one in the films to games always carries a heavy burden. But the game surprised by not only replicating the visuals of Pandora, but also building a living, interactive open-world structure full of details. The story is simple, but it works as a starting point, throwing you into conflicts, discoveries, and decisions that shape the course of the journey. The gameplay blends first-person action, vertical exploration, free flight, and the use of native abilities in a natural and fun way. Traveling through Pandora feels purposeful, and the varied biomes change the way you move and fight. The hunting, scanning, collecting, and interaction with nature mechanics give depth to the day-to-day. The combat against humans is intense and encourages you to use the environment to your advantage. What caught me most was the attention to detail in the world building. The forest responds to your movements, animals react in different ways, and everything is constructed with a sense of respect for nature. It's not just a pretty game, it's a game with soul. Avatar could have been just another adaptation, but it went much further and delivered a world that's worth exploring, feeling, and revisiting. Much better than I expected. In 18th place, Gears Tactics seemed like just an attempt to adapt the franchise to a new genre, but the result was much more refined than I imagined. Instead of relying solely on the name, the game builds its identity with an engaging campaign and combat that requires real planning. The narrative is straightforward and functional, but fits well within the series' universe, maintaining the sense of urgency and brutality. It's a strategy game with pace and weight. The gameplay delivers tactical turn-based battles with freedom of movement, smart use of cover, and unique abilities for each character. The pace is faster than other games in the genre, without losing depth. Each mission brings varied objectives, and the difficulty increases without feeling unfair. The feeling of controlling a specialized squad, with well-thought-out positioning, is rewarding from start to finish. What's most impressive is how the game respects the essence of the franchise, even while changing so much. The enemies are familiar, the environments have that typical destroyed tone, and the action retains the expected visual brutality. But all of this is viewed through a new lens, showing that Gears can work very well outside its traditional style. Gears Tactics is a spin-off that succeeded and surprises with its quality, balance, and the audacity to try something different and get it right. In 19th place, Salt and Sanctuary surprised me by delivering a 2D Souls-like with much more depth and atmosphere than I expected. The first impression is simple, a dark world with decaying castles, deformed creatures, and interconnected paths. But the more you progress, the more you realize the care behind the construction of this universe. The story is told gradually, with lore fragments and strange NPCs, creating a mysterious atmosphere that grabs you without you even noticing. The gameplay is where the game really shines. The combat is heavy, tactical, with dodges, combos, magic, and weapons that completely change the playstyle. Progressing through the map requires attention, as there are no obvious indicators, and exploration leads you to discover secret passages and well-placed shortcuts. The class system and skill tree are expansive, allowing for deep and creative customization. The 2D visuals are stylized, dark, and full of personality, matching the melancholic tone of the game. The animations are smooth, and the bosses impress both with their design and difficulty. Salt and Sanctuary is the kind of game that seems small, but hides an enormous and complex world inside. It delivers weight, challenge, and immersion like few others. And for that reason, it was much more than I expected when I first started. In 20th place, The Walking Dead was a game I took a while to give chance to. At first, I found a more narrative style and lack of direct action a bit strange. It felt too slow for me. But after pushing through a bit, I realized that the impact didn't come from gameplay, but from the decisions, the conversations, and the desperate situations that kept popping up. The story pulls you in like few others, with choices that truly stick in your mind. The gameplay may seem simple, but it works perfectly within its proposal. Every response changes something. Every silence carries meaning. The game constantly forces you to make tough decisions. And the worst part is there's no right answer. The characters' reactions are unpredictable, and that ramps up the tension. The pacing is steady, always alternating between moments of relief and gut-wrenching situations. What surprised me most was how much this series grew with me. Unforgettable characters, shocking twists, and stories that echo long after the credits roll. Today, it's one of my favorite franchises, and thinking I almost passed it by because of the style shows how much it's worth giving something a chance. The Walking Dead delivers emotion, weight, and narrative like few games have. Next, we have Control, a game I started not really knowing what to expect, but ended up completely hooked by its strange, mystery-filled world. The story takes place inside a government building hiding unexplained paranormal phenomena, where the laws of physics don't work as they should. Little by little, everything becomes more confusing and fascinating at the same time. And that's part of the fun. It's the kind of story that keeps you going, even when you don't understand it all right away. The gameplay combines combat with energy weapons and telekinetic powers, turning any environment into a creative arena. You can throw objects, fly, shield yourself with floating debris, and combine all that with fast, intense gunfights. The pace is dynamic, the environments are full of secrets, and progression feels natural. Every new power you unlock changes the way you play and explore. What surprised me the most was how stylish the game is. The brutalist architecture, particle effects, visual distortions, and use of light create a unique atmosphere. There are moments when you just stop to take in the absurdity around you. Control arrived quietly, but delivered a world full of personality, solid mechanics, and an unforgettable visual. It definitely exceeded my expectations. In 22nd place, Absolver seemed like an interesting game, but I had no idea how different it was until I actually started playing. The story is minimalist, throwing you into a mysterious, uninhabited world full of ruins. Little is explained, and that forces you to explore, experiment, and pay attention to the environment. The narrative is in the details, and the game trusts you to piece things together on your own. This freedom caught me by surprise in the best way possible. The gameplay is the heart of it all. The combat system is deep, technical, and fully customizable. You can create your own fighting style, learning new moves by facing different opponents. Dodges, parries, and combos are essential, and mastering the systems takes real practice. The combat has weight, fluidity, and requires reading your opponent, making every fight unpredictable and satisfying. The visuals are stylized with vast, empty, and beautiful environments in their own way. The art direction leans on minimalism, which fits perfectly with the game's enigmatic atmosphere. Even without much fanfare at launch, Absolver impressed me by being unique, bold, and offering combat that few games have managed to replicate with such freedom. It was a complete surprise, and it's one of those games that stays in your memory because it strays from the norm. And tell me, which of these games have you had a chance to play? Did any spark your curiosity? And would you add it to your list of next games? We'd love to know which one caught your attention the most. Share in the comments any game that could have easily made the list but ended up missing out. If you can, please subscribe to the channel to help me grow so you'll never be unsure of what to play again. I'm leaving 2 videos in the card, one I selected for you and another YouTube picked for you. Just click on either one to watch. Big hugs, enjoy the game, and see you tomorrow.